We are talking about the mortgage rate and how it's falling. That's big news. That's next. Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle here with John. We are here talking about something super important, super topical, which is the mortgage rate, right? Pretty much anyone that talks to us is asking us about that. How is that going to affect the market? And what's the big question they always say? Should they
buy now or later?
Exactly. All right. So some good news though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing mortgage rates fall for roughly 3 months now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the fact that rates have been high and that it costs more when rates are high. And certainly the value of homes were brought up so significantly when rates were down. And so as you see the pressure of interest rates rising, you would anticipate to some degree that will put some downward pressure on the market. It certainly has, but it hasn't really affected pricing the way that some people had thought. But it has slowed the overall purchasing down, and people are more reluctant to put their homes on the market currently because they just don't want to buy themselves into a higher interest rate, right? Now they're buying a house that maybe double the value of the house that they had originally had, and they're going to have an interest rate that maybe double or even more than that. So it's certainly slowed the market.
Absolutely. And the thing about it though, what we constantly hear people say, and I'm sure if you're out there thinking about buying or selling, you're thinking the same thing, should we wait? Should we wait? Well, one thing to consider is that when you wait, if you're waiting for those rates to fall, when that happens, generally you will see the prices go up again, and you're going to see more people come back to the market, which then puts you in that multiple offer, that competitive situation all over again.
Absolutely. The market now has slowed to a point where you don't see these competitive bids, and it's a much more buyer-friendly market. I would not consider it a true buyer's market at this time.
But buyer-friendly is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's much more buyer-friendly. I mean, how many times were we in the market in years past or just in the last 18 months or so where you put an offer in and there's 6 competing offers, 10 competing offers, right? And they're being bid up well over the asking price. We're seeing that less frequently, certainly as you expand out of Dane County and Madison City proper, you even see that less. You see that less in the higher price per point homes, something that's now priced between $500,000 and $700,000 is less likely to have those bidding wars on them. Still in that $250,000 to $400,000 range, you may see it a little bit, but it's a lot less than it was. And rates, specifically in October, rates were 7.8% roughly in that area, which, from 3.5% or even some rates being lower than that, that's a significant amount to your payment. Right. But we've dropped now to almost in that 6.5% range, just slightly higher than that. And that certainly makes that 1.25%-ish can really make a big difference in your interest rate. And to some degree, I think that it will continue to drop ever so slightly. I don't expect that we will see it drop below 6 in the near future. So I think the buying season, as far as what you can get for value of home and for interest rate, is probably about as good as it's going to get right about now. And certainly that's speculation. We really don't know for sure. The Fed is talking about reducing interest rates potentially as much as 3 times this year.
Yes.
So that's going to change the market too. And just because the Fed reduces their short-term interest rates doesn't mean that we're going to see that same decrease in mortgage rates. It's not a one-for-one. It does impact the market, but I think we've baked in some of those potential interest rate reductions into the current pricing to some degree, although I do think it will drop further than it is now if the Fed does step in and make those interest rate reductions.
Well, and we worked with many clients last year that would put in multiple times, multiple offers over and over and over for different properties and never win. And right. That fatigues you if you're out there trying to find a property. So if you were that person last year and you were trying to work and trying to find something, as you said, now before the spring market hits, right? When everyone jumps back in the market in the spring, that's when all the competition will hit back in.
Yeah, and you have to realize there's pent-up demand because the market did slow down earlier this year than it traditionally would have because rates were rising so quickly and there was so much uncertainty in the market and what's going to happen. So I do feel that there's going to be some pent-up demand there that potentially we could see more demand than we are anticipating, because there's going to be people who, there's always people who have to move.
That's the thing, you have to move sometimes.
Right, and then there's the people who wanted to move, and then there's the new people who want to move. So you have the pent-up demand that wanted to move but just didn't, and then you have the have-tos, and then you've got the new demand in the market. So I would expect that we're going to see a pretty robust spring, because people are also getting used to the rate being above 6%. That was quite a shocker. I remember back in 2002 when I got into the mortgage industry, and we were all like, when is the rate going to drop below 6%? That was kind of a big barometer that we were all kind of watching. And when it did, that's certainly heated the market up. Now that it went above 6%, it's been 20 some years since it's done that. And that's a hard pill for a home buyer as well, because they just haven't seen that rate in so long. But we were historically very, very low, and I think these rates around the 6% range are likely to be what the norm is, because that's traditionally what the norm is.
Absolutely. And there's another video on our channel if you're interested. So one category of buyers or sellers, we would say, are people that are downsizing, right? So they're considering it's time to downsize. They have equity. They've got great increase in value of their home since when they purchased it. But then they're also looking at the rates and thinking, well, if I sell, where am I going to go? Am I going to get myself into maybe something that I didn't really want to, because maybe they don't want to spend all their cash, right? So there's a video on the channel about whether it's time to retire and sell. You can watch that as well, a little bit more about this. So what do you think? I guess the way to look at it, again, since we are headed into the spring market, which is notoriously the most popular time to buy, because that's when people either are getting out of schools or they're moving in the summers and so forth and so on, getting in settled before school starts. If you're considering that and you can jump in now or maybe in February, might be the smart thing to do, right?
Yeah, it's certainly a reason to start looking, if nothing else. And, being prepared will help you, get ahead of the curve if things do start to change quicker than maybe others have anticipated. And the market does end up having a shortage of supply like it's had in the past. Certainly, supply is still short. We don't have, it has not turned into into a buyer's market where there's all kinds of houses out there that you can buy, mainly because sellers are in that same position that we discussed earlier. They're not ready to get rid of their low interest rate loans and buy into a much more expensive house with a higher interest rate. So the inventory is still going to be an issue.
Well, remember, every single case is different. Everyone's specific situation is unique, and we love to help you through those situations and talk through it and see what works best for you. So if you have questions, you can always reach out. All of the contact information is below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we'd love for you to. We try to put out good value, good information multiple times a week so you can learn something and then follow along in the South Central Wisconsin market as well. All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
See you next time.